Hi, I'm Candie from CandieCooper.com, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can make a slick little clasp using some wire and a vintage button. Let's get started. So the thing is, there's thousands of clasps available. Why would you want to make your own? And the reason is this, because you can make your design more fluid by making your own clasp. So I brought a couple pieces with me. This, I really love like vintage aesthetic. So I strung these beads, put the pendant on, and then I thought, I can just really finish it off with, this is like one of my favorite kind of clasps to make, but all I'm using is a button and then a piece of wire with a loop on the end. And that's my closure. So it looks just a little bit more like it's meant to go with that pendant versus just maybe like a brass lobster clasp or something. Nothing wrong with that, but like the more experience you get, you might want to try this little trick. So you can use it for chain. You can also use it if you've strung beads. That's how what I used on this little bracelet. So let's make one. Okay, so the first thing, you want to pick out a button. I brought a bunch with me. You can use buttons with the holes in them. I like the ones with the shank on the back because it kind of hides the hook part of your clasp. It kind of just sits down in really nice. So there's so many different buttons. I love these vintage glass ones, but you want to kind of be careful when you get into the vintage glass because they can have lead in the glass. So be careful there, just a little tip. Metal ones are always good. These little brass ones are great. So just some ideas for the kinds of buttons that'll work. Big, small, doesn't matter. Okay, the next thing you need is some artistic wire. I'm using 18 gauge, 16 gauge would be great too. Just a note on gauges, the higher the gauge number, like 32 gauge, the skinnier the wire. So 18 gauge is going to be way thicker than say a 32 gauge wire. And you can see the number right here on the wire packaging. So I'm using 18 gauge. It's a good all-purpose like for a clasp type wire. So I always just freeform it. They make jigs and things too that you can like form your clasp around, but I just like kind of wing it. Also, I wanted to tell you that like wire, artistic wire comes in all different colors too. So if you want more of a vintage look, you might try this bronze. Or if you're doing something more colorful or team colors or something, you can use like teal and orange or whatever. So let's just make, actually I think it'll be easier for you to see if I use this brown color, bronzy. So before we get any further though, I want to tell you this kind of wire working takes practice. So you might screw this up about 10 times before you get something you like. So really this is a case where practice makes perfect. So I'm using these large bail pliers, and by doing that I'm just going to roll the hook part around, okay? And that gives me a cute little hook. Then I'm going to pick up my chain nose pliers, make a bend, grab my tiny round nose pliers, and just wrap the wire up and around. Take them out and wrap that wire around your core wire. And what that's going to do is give you a really solid loop so that it can't slip out from your chain, your beading wire, whatever you're using. And then you're going to use your flush cutters to trim, like so. And then you can fancy this up however you like. You can see like on this one here, I've made a loop. Really anything goes. On the one I had before here, I added a few beads on before I made my wrapped loop. Really, like the possibilities are endless. So once you get your hook shape or your piece, you're going to want to put it on a steel block. And you can get these at the craft store. I'm putting it on a sandbag to sort of help deaden the sound. You can also put it on a dish towel. And then I'm using what's called a chasing hammer because it has a large face on it. And then you're just going to tap the end, put your hook piece on the edge, and then tap the round part. And what that's doing, you just want to tap it a few times. That's making that wire extra rigid, so it's going to hold its shape that much better. This is going to be used a lot when you're putting it on, so you want to just kind of work harden, that's the technical term, that little section of metal, and then you want to squeeze it shut, because when you go to slide your button piece through, you want it to sort of be a pressure fit. You don't want your button piece to sneak out really easily. But really, that's all there is to it. Then you're going to connect it to your chain, the one end of the chain to the button with a jump ring. Attach your clasp to the opposite end of the chain with a jump ring, and then just away you go. You can slip that piece right on in, and you've got a really slick little connection that's one of a kind. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Be sure to drop us a line in the comments and let us know what you thought, and give us a thumbs up if you liked it. And definitely subscribe to this channel. Until next time.